Somebody said my teeth were like the Temptations. Everybody wanted to sing lead. So back then it was tough. I got them braces on, and then it was a long process. It just happened like this. I didn't come out like this. It was a whole process. I was real
if your
chubby.
teeth were like that, you probably had the retainer, the night thing. They were like, we're going to work on it.
Yeah, we're going to work on it.
Jaw fasteners and all that.
I didn't have all that. Why you got to do me like that?
I'm sorry.
I didn't have the headgear. Damn.
I
for a
stopped
couple years.
short of headgear. Just hold on.
So you got to get a job and thing. And
and you were a chubby little dude too.
I was a hefty critter.
So you were eating your way through the pain. Okay.
I eat because I'm unhappy.
Okay.
That was it. My mom, she worked so much, so she, she knows how to cook. She can burn, but she not time sometimes. So she'd just be like, "Here's $20, figure it out."
Hey, Craig in black.
I am in black today.
The man in black.
Michelle in blue.
You know, this episode today reminded me of, wanted to ask if you remember when you used to take drum lessons.
Oh, yes.
How old were you when you started?
I was in elementary school, and I had to be like in 5th grade.
Well, I thought you were even younger than that.
Yeah. No, I don't think.
Okay.
If anything, it was 4th grade, but I didn't think it was 4th grade. I think it was 5th grade.
Mm-hmm.
But and folks out there, drum lessons back in the day, I had drumsticks and I had a drum pad that was made out of solid rubber. It was a solid rubber pad, and it was on an angle.
Yeah.
And it had a little circle in the middle.
And then you eventually moved to like a pad that was a drum?
It was a pad that had like the material that is actually a drum was on a pad about this big.
Yeah.
That was the extent of my drum lessons. I could not get past that
and looking
drum pad.
Back on how music was taught when we were coming up,
man,
you know, it is the
archaic.
Opposite of wanting to get kids interested in music because we come from a family of musicians on both sides.
Musicians, singers.
And we grew up with our Aunt Robbie, who lived downstairs and was a piano teacher. So the music was always strumming through our house. So I, from 4 years old, wanted to play the piano.
Right.
Because I could hear the scales happening and I could imitate the scales even at 4. But you know how she would start us out with the piano keys on a cardboard.
Oh, it was terrible.
We're sitting next to the piano and I'm like, I want to go on the instrument. And she's like, nope. And we did that for weeks and I was so mad.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I didn't come down here to play on a... So... You know, I think the approach to teaching kids music these days is a little better.
Yeah. My son, who is taking piano lessons, his teacher, first thing comes out of her mouth, what song would you like to play?
Yeah.
And he said, Old Town Road. And she found him the sheet music for it. That's how you grab, because he's still taking lessons now, and he's 16.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just such a better way of teaching. That's like taking a kid out to a basketball court. You want to teach him basketball, and no ball.
And no basket.
No ball.
just no ball. Just imagine
out here running around.
Think about it. Hold your hands in the right position.
Yeah.
Our guest today is a musical genius who hopefully has a better story than we did.
Yeah. I can't wait to hear how he got
exposed to music.
Yes.
But thank God he wasn't.
He didn't have
Aunt Robbie.
I want to find out if he had a practice pad.
Yeah,
or if he got to start straight on the drums.
But why don't you introduce him?
I will. And he's a youngin' too. He's a youngster.
Oh, let's see how young.
Yeah.
He's got a baby face.
And we're talking about Anderson Paak, who is a boundary-pushing artist, producer, now director, and 9-time Grammy Award winner. He emerged from his roots as a teenage church drummer in Oxnard, California, with a breakout album, Venice, and the universally praised album Malibu. He's expanding his creative reach through his newest film, K-Pops, which you all have to go see. It is
so good.
Wonderful, in which he stars, co-wrote, and directed. So, Mr. Paak, will you come join us?
Hi, cuteness. It's good to be with you. It's good to have you here.
Man, did they make that in a double XL?
They might, man. I'm about to get some custom for you.
I mean, I want to zoom in on the shoes. Like, can we do that? I mean, you said that's a Japanese brand.
Japanese brand.
Are those high tops or
Yeah.
those are they mules? What's the back? Lift up the heel. Let me check.
Yeah.
Those are fire.
Yeah.
Fire. Well, welcome.
Welcome, man.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Big honor.
Yeah. All
Are
right,
you
well,
kidding? We're honored.
I mean, I love you.
Wow. I love you too.
To death. I mean, you are more than just talented. I mean, you quadruple threat or all the threats, personality, talent, you can act your butt off, you can produce, you are a gifted musician and seem like a really, really good man.
Wow. Thank you.
So
now actor and director.
That's right. As if I wasn't doing enough stuff.
Yeah,
Right.
well, welcome to the club. Talk to her about that,
Thank
man.
you so much. Yeah.
Well, did you have a drum pad? Did you have a
Did you
better
start with a practice pad?
My drum pad was the couch.
See
it was
there?
the bed, pots and pans. And then I was driving everyone crazy. And eventually they got a drum kit in the house, my step pops.
How old were you when you got a drum
I was
kit?
About 12. I was in like 6th grade.
You had real drums in 6th grade.
Yeah, but it
I'm
almost
pissed.
didn't happen. I was supposed to play. I wanted to play saxophone.
Okay.
'Cause I
Really?
wanted to serenade the ladies. I wanted to be, outside the window. And they was like, we got a saxophones. And I was like, well, I damn sure ain't playing the flute.
Wait,
see,
you
that's-
went to get a saxophone and they said they're out?
It just started sixth grade in middle school, and I was like, I'm going into band. Because before that, I was really into music, dancing, everything. But I was like, I want to play instrument now.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the first day, and I was so dead set on the sax, and there was no more left. And they said, all we have is the drums. We have the bass drum or the snare drum. Which one do you want to play? And I didn't even think what was going to be my plan B. So I was like, I guess I'll pick the drums. I picked the bass drum. And they had us in there playing on these big old things. And I'm like, I can't get no girls with this. And I was about to quit. Baby, I love you.
I'm at the window. I'm in the garden. Hold on, let me put this thing
playing
on.
George of the Jungle. Getting the cuffs called on me. Yeah, it would have just been all bad. So I was about to quit. And I was walking home one day, and my step-pops had a drums kit in the house, and he was playing on it. He was playing along to some Prince records.
Wow.
And I didn't even know he played. And he was like, yeah, I heard you're playing drums now, so I got a drum kit. And I didn't think about the whole drum kit in a sense, because in band, it was just separate drums.
Right.
So he had the drum kit, and I was like, okay, this is cool. And when he finally got off of it, I hopped on, and it was the first thing I ever did where I just picked it up really quick.
You did.
Like instrument-wise. And before that, I was trying to play basketball, everything. I was really terrible. And I got on that kit, and my mom came running out dancing, and she started dancing. I never really seen her dance before, so I was like, whoa, like, this is crazy. Like, I'm making a beat that's causing people to dance.
Yeah.
I want to keep doing this.
And so your step pops, you called him?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He was a drummer.
Yeah.
So you learned just by hearing him play, or you really learned when you were in band?
Yeah, he was showing me a few things.
Okay.
And then right when I started playing in the house, my mom gave me like all her records. She was like, okay, you need to learn Archie Bell and the Drells, you need to learn Earth, Wind & Fire, learn these beats.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just doing that every day at the house after school. And then my god sister came by and she said, oh, you're playing drums? You need to come to church with me. And she took me to church, and it was the Black Gospel Church.
Yeah.
And there wasn't very many Black people in the city of Oxnard where I'm from, but they were all there at the church.
They
and,
all went to that one church.
Everybody
It's
went
like,
to
this is where everybody is.
Yeah. And that's where I really learned how to play. It was the best musicians in the world coming through and playing behind a choir, playing behind, organists and choir directors. I'm a church kid. So I grew up playing drums all the way till I was, about 30 years old when I couldn't really do it anymore because I was traveling a lot. But since I was little, I was picking up on grooves and I was really into dancing. Like I wanted to be like, grew up in front of TV. My mom was always working and my sisters pretty much raised me and, in front of the TV. So I grew up watching like BET, MTV and music videos and stuff. So I would want to learn every new dance that came about. And, now when I listen to music, it's tough because like I produce, I write and everything. So it's tough to kind of like turn that off and just enjoy a song sometimes. But I really love when something has a nice groove, good drum tones. And I really love chords and also like clever lyrics.
Yeah.
So I think that could be, anything. But when it comes to like dancing and stuff, I guess
It's funny
when
our generation, when you say I watch TV all the time, and I was waiting for you to say Soul Train, but it was like, oh my God.
That too.
Yeah.
Soul Train.
Yeah, but it wasn't even on when you were little.
Yeah. I mean,
it's like
you know of it. You know of Soul Train.
I've heard of it. People have said it. The Soul Train line is part of everyone's culture, we were there. That's where. But it's like I gotta, I'm getting old, and I'm like, oh yeah, they had MTV.
Yeah.
And you talk about Oxnard. There weren't a lot of Black folks in your neighborhood. Tell us who lived in Oxnard, and were you born there? Was your mother from there? Was there,
Yeah, Oxnard is a beautiful place. It's a small town. A lot of people think it's like the Valley, or it's about an hour north of LA, going towards Santa Barbara. And it's a beach town. It's a lot of agriculture. It's a lot of Latinos. And when I was coming up, it was mostly Latinos, like second generation Latinos and white people. And I was like the only Black kid in my high school. And my mom ended up there because my mom's story is crazy, but long story short, she was an adopted kid during the 50s, during the Korean War. She was a found kid. Her and my uncle were found abandoned. Wow. And she was adopted, brought to an orphanage, and adopted by Black parents who were in the military. And so she was raised in Compton, California, all around LA, up until her 20s. And she met my dad. He was in the military as well. He's from Philly, and he was stationed in Point Magoo, which is in Oxnard. And they met there. They met in the club, and eventually, my dad battled with addiction and several different things. But they had me and my little sister in Oxnard, and that's where we were raised until my pops went to prison, and then we moved to Ventura, which is just the next city over.
Okay.
But yeah, we were just a tight family. I grew up. I'm the middle boy of 3 sisters from my mom, and my pops was a Rolling Stone. He had a bunch of kids too, but mostly women. Yeah. So I was just, the boy that was there to like provide entertainment and fun and sometimes therapists. Everybody's talking about each other, and I'm in the middle like, I know, I told you she was crazy. Then I'm saying the same thing to the other sister. Yeah. But yeah, we're all really close to my mom. And she just, she was a workaholic. She also worked in agriculture growing up. So she was gone a lot doing her own thing. I never seen her work for anybody. She was entrepreneur. And, she was just like all about her family, keeping her family together and working hard. And we had a lot of fun. It was a lot of trauma too. But
You have had an amazing story of a lot of ups and a lot of downs and a few curves. But did you feel like you had a community of friends in Oxnard, being the only Black kid in your school? What was that like for you, just making it as a kid?
Yeah, I dealt with all kinds of stuff. It was really dope, though, and a blessing that I grew up playing drums in church because I had different communities. So I had my church family, that was where a lot of the Black culture and everything surrounding that was where I, thrived at. And then when I go to school, it was like my white friends, my Mexican friends, then I had that. And then at home, everybody was doing their thing. My sisters were listening to all kinds of stuff, like from, SWV, the New Edition, Mariah. And my mom wouldn't go past like Tony, or Freddie Jackson. You couldn't play nothing, nothing after that. It was always, don't touch it. Earth, Wind, and Fire. It was like, that was what was going on. And then I go to school and they were listening to Nirvana and Radiohead and all this, the Foo Fighters. And I was getting all of these things. And I was, growing up, really quickly, I felt like I can't wait to get out of this town. It's not enough diversity. I'm too big for this town. Especially when I started doing music, I wanted to escape to all these different places that I seen like on television or on movies or on records that were here. And looking back on it, I was just dead set. As soon as I graduate, I'm going to LA. I'm going to make it. I'm going to get signed. I'm going to be doing all these different things. And it didn't happen exactly like that. And I'm actually glad it did because it, built a lot of character. And I'm glad that I grew up in a small town now because I think it gave me a different kind of perspective. And I don't even know if I would have survived like coming up in LA. And when I look back at it now, it was different. But yeah, I battled with like identity stuff, thinking that I wasn't Black enough with the kids that I grew up with in church. And then I go to the suburbs and I'm the only Black kid. And I thought I had to be the Black spokesman for the whole school.
Right.
And I think my mom saw that too. And my mom deals with, being an orphan and growing up.
And she's biracial
She
too,
is.
right?
She didn't know anything about her Korean culture, and we grew up Black in a Black household. And I didn't know about anything about Koreans, when I found out my mom was Korean, I just took it as something I could tell to people and it make me exotic.
Yeah. How old were you when you found out or when you realized she was Korean?
I was about I think she was telling us this when I was about 10, 11. When we started sitting down, she started telling us her story. And she wouldn't always do it, but she would open up sometime, and she was like, yeah, I'm adopted. You and your uncle, we were found and this and that. We'd be like, what? That's crazy. And okay, so we're Korean. Okay, I'm mixed.
It's
nice.
like, whoa.
I'm about to tell everybody.
That's a story to tell. Yeah. When did your mom tell you the story of your biological father? Because did you remember him? Because he was in prison like you were 7.
Right.
And did you remember that story, the story of him, the story of what happened with them?
Yeah, totally. My pops went to prison when I was around 6 or 7, and I saw him. He was a twin, and
which is a trip out.
Yeah, there's a whole.
We got to talk a little bit about
crazy story with that. Yeah, but you couldn't tell them apart. So, I remember we were with my babysitter at the house, and I heard someone screaming. I go outside, and my pops is on top of my mom. There's blood in the street, and he's like, "Get back in the house." And my babysitter's screaming like, "Don't do it, don't do it." And he's like, "I got a gun." And I didn't know. I was in complete shock. I was really in denial. I was like, "No, that must be my uncle. Like, this can't be," because my mom didn't tell me about any of this. I didn't know that.
You didn't see anything.
I didn't see anything. I never saw them fight. Now that I think about it, he was gone from the house, but my mom was always saying, like, he's working, he's getting his health together. But I didn't know that he was actually going through rehab, and my mom was trying to get him help through AA, and he was estranged. She didn't know where he was, and she was told me, he was on drugs and everything, but she felt like she was going just as crazy, just trying to get him off. She would be chasing people down, trying to find him, doing all these things. And everything just came to a head that day. And, we ran out the house, and my pops ended up getting arrested and sent to prison for years after that. But it was around that time that she told me, your pops had a very different life, than a lot of people. He came up in Philly. He got kicked out the house when he was a teen. This is in North Philly in the 70s. And he was a kid out there trying to raise himself and somehow got into the military early and just grew up, in a different way. And then she's always told me was really a beautiful person and a great dad. It was just when he got addicted to drugs, he just really turned him into someone different, and he couldn't win that battle. And she told me about that, how they met and everything. And but it was crazy because even though she went through all that stuff with him, she never said anything bad, and it was always very positive.
Very noticeable in your whole story. She's still trying to hopefully hoping that he could turn it around and not ruining your vision of him until she absolutely couldn't help it.
That
absolutely says a lot about her.
For sure. Yeah. And, after she got back on her feet, she was just like, all right, we got a new chapter now. We're going to move out of this house, and I'm going to get back to work. And son, let that be example. Do not touch no drugs. Don't get into no drinking. Stay away from all of it.
Did that do it for you?
It was always like a warning for sure. And I knew that I had there was a thing in my family where we battled with addiction, And so I was always weary, and I didn't do very much anything. It was really scared straight, all the way up into my 20s, 21 when I moved to LA. I hadn't done really much anything, and I was in church, so I was scared of everything. I didn't want to go to hell. So I was just like, I'm just doing this.
It's like, let me just play my drums.
Yeah, playing my drums, being cool. I was a late bloomer. And so, that helped. But, you get older, you go through life, you got to experience stuff for yourself. But yeah, she's still like that. You know, my mom is, the strongest person. But and it was my mom that when they got together, she found out that he had other kids and everything, and she had two older kids of her own from another marriage. And my mom was, going through every husband she went through, something crazy. But she was big on him getting all the kids together. So I remember when we were young, she got us all together with our sisters and my brothers that I had from Philly, and brought us all together at the house in Oxnard, and we met everyone. It's like a big family reunion. And then when he got put in prison later, when I got in my 20s, it was my sister from his side that really was like, you should talk to him. He's not doing well. He just got out of prison, but his health isn't well, and he really wants to talk to you, and he really wants to kind of make it right.
And were you who you are now, or
No.
were you still making it?
No, I was still making. I was just barely. I mean, I was doing music, but it was nothing was going on for me, and I had just gotten my first shows and started going on tour, and I was thought I was too busy to talk to him. I didn't really want to have a relationship. Or I thought I didn't. I thought I didn't need it, and it was still like that trauma when I seen him and knowing all that stuff. But I'm glad I did end up talking to him, because I didn't know that you could be going through stuff and not even know it, And when you talk to people that you feel like your parents were always your parents, and they weren't adults and having to go through life just like how you have to go through life. And so I got to talk to him, and he told me how proud he was of me and how he wanted to be a singer too. And I learned that he was on the Gong Show, and they were auditioning, and he had a group, and he had big dreams too.
Okay, so fun fact. Kelly has always loved reselling stuff online, whether it's furniture, clothing, old sports memorabilia that only I like looking at. I'm not sure if she's ready right now to open up her own business, but the day she does, I know we'll be checking out Shopify, because Shopify really is where you go when you want to turn something from just an idea into an actual business. It gives you all the tools to build something real. And these days, you want your business to be everywhere people are already shopping. And Shopify helps with discovery through Google, YouTube, TikTok Shop, the Shop app, and more. And even just as a consumer, I so appreciate that purple Shop Pay button, their signature at checkout. It makes everything fast and easy, which is great for customers and great for anybody trying to actually close the sale. Thinking about starting a business? This is your sign. Get started today at shopify.com/IMO. Given all the stuff that you've been through at a young age like that, how did you remain so positive, so bright? So, because when we met briefly for the first time before we came out here, and you have this light about you, this great spirit. How were you able to keep it, or did you?
Yeah, I mean, there's times, I have my moods and everything. I've been called moody, and there's a lot behind the smile. And I did an interview recently with a rapper named Nori who pointed this out. He said, usually people like that they have that smile and they've been through all this crazy stuff. They're trying to protect their peace. And I think that's probably what it was. Me having this, how I am now, there's a part of it that's natural, but there's a part of it too that's I feel like defense mechanism, a coping mechanism that I had from the things that I've seen and things that I've gone through. And my peace is important for me. The things that I do were kind of like escapism, I feel like, for what was going on in my reality. When I think about me watching the TV and learning how to dance, and then learning how to play drums, and moving on to everything that I'm doing now, it's always that kid that was running to his room and getting away from the craziness, I think, and creating my own world. And
music was that.
Music was that. And the smile is just, thank God my mom got me some braces, because the smile wasn't always this nice. It was coming at you in 4D. And so she was like, we got to get a grip on that. Somebody said my teeth are like the Temptations. Everybody wanted to sing lead. So back then it was tough. I got them braces on, and then It was a long process. It just happened like this. I didn't come out like this. It was a whole process. I was real
if your
chubby.
teeth were like that, you probably had the retainer, the night thing.
Everything.
They were like, we're going to work on it.
Yeah, we're going to work on it.
Jaw fasteners and all that.
I didn't have all that. Why you got to do me like that?
I'm sorry.
I didn't have headgear. Damn.
I stopped short of headgear. Just hold on.
So you got to get a jaw to bang. And yeah. So.
And you were a chubby little dude, too.
I was a hefty critter.
Yeah. So you were eating your way through the pain. Okay.
I eat because I'm unhappy. Yeah, that was it. My mom, she worked so much, so she, she knows how to cook. She can burn, but she didn't have time sometimes. So she'd just be like, "Here's $20, figure it out." And we go order some pizza and Taco Bell, and man, that's how I was doing. I didn't have good eating habits for so long. I didn't know I didn't have good. It's just how I grew up. A cup of noodles and Thai ramen and everything. And I was big as a house. And then, after my senior year, I was like, screw this. I'm still a virgin.
I'm gonna be fly.
I'm gonna be fly. Y'all gonna see.
I put that snare drum down.
Exactly.
I'm gonna get me a girl. Right?
Yeah.
Your mom sounds incredible.
Yeah,
I mean, because it's like, she also was taking care of your step brothers and sisters like they were her own.
Absolutely.
Even through all that she went through with your father, right?
Yep.
And never treated them differently.
Nope.
It's like you all were all one family. And for her to be able to hold it together like that through all that she was dealing with. But she had some tough times.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure that had a lot to do. Let me not put words in your mouth, but talk about what your mom went through and how that affected. Because you guys were on the upswing with her business. She was into strawberries.
Yes.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, my mom had a strawberry company in Oxnard. And, we went from, after my pops went to prison, we were in, apartments. And every year, just the business got better. And by the time I was in a senior in high school, we were in a big mansion. And we were used to always like changing, different houses and everything, but we were doing good. And my mom, she kept stuff from us. She thought kids' business was kids' business and she was going to work and we didn't need to know everything. And I remember just like having everything. I had my own studio. My sisters, my two older sisters, they were married, but she was taking care of them as well. And everything was on the ups. And I got called into the principal's office one day and my principal just slid the newspaper to me and was my mom on the front cover. She had been arrested and my step-pops was in cuffs too. And they'd both been arrested. And I was just like, what the hell's going on? He's like, you know what's going on? I was like, nah. Then my brother-in-law called me. He's like, yo, they got mom. They've been building a case on them for years, and they got her for like 75 counts, securities fraud and all these different things. And I was just in shock, and the whole school was looking at me like, "That's how you got that house." It was like, again, only black kid in the school, and it was just like, damn, it was messed up, and everything just turned upside down, and so. My pops being in prison, and my uncle, now my mom, my step's pops, it was just like nonstop. And
where did you guys go after? Because she went to prison. She was sentenced.
Yeah, so she was actually in county for like a year and a half. We were trying to figure out how to get her a lawyer and see if we can fight it and all this stuff. And she was like, I don't want to fight it. We couldn't get. She was like, if we can't get a great lawyer, I'm just going to do my time. I know what I did. I know they're trying to put me under the prison, so I'm just going to do a plea, do my time, and I'll be out. You should get a job, Brandon, because your sisters are going to come in and watch your little sister. And as soon as you can work, you should figure out something. I know you want to do your music, but do that as well. But you should get out the house and be a man and go and lighten the load.
How old were you?
I was 17. Yeah, so
what did that feel like? I mean, what did that feel like to your 17-year-old soul to have your world turned upside down and then be told you gotta figure it out?
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, it was crushing because my mom it would just kill me to know like she was in prison, and she was not a violent person, the sweetest person, no criminal record. So I was just always so worried, like what's going on in there with her, and I hope she's okay. And then on the other hand, she was just so positive and optimistic and strong that it made me want to get my stuff together and just keep going. And she was very just like, yeah, man, I'm gonna be all right. I'm worried about you guys more so. Like, you guys, do what you guys have to do. Don't worry about me. And so, and at the same time, I thought I was gonna be like signed by then. Like before that, I was making mixtapes, I was DJing, I had my own like demo that I was selling at school. Couldn't nobody tell me I wasn't gonna be right out of high school, like signed to Jay-Z, and
it was like that big record scratch.
Yeah. So there was still a part of me like, okay, I'm still gonna try to do this, but my world's upside down and I had to move out and all this stuff. So right after I graduated high school somehow, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go to LA. I'm gonna make the move, gonna try to do my thing, and I'm gonna take some meetings. I had a manager at the time that was taking me around, and my two older sisters were taking care of my little sister, and I pretty much was off into the world after there. And I did a bunch of stuff. I went to Atlanta and, was trying to get a record deal. Got every door closed on me, and got a rude awakening that, this is cool, but can you do more, something like this? And we don't get it. Like, you want to rap, you sing, what do you do?
What were you doing then?
I was doing a lot of everything. I had a little demo that I was taking around, and I was rapping, I was singing, I made all the beats, I was playing drums, and back then it was a lot of emulating, and so I was back in Oxnard, and my sister lived in Northridge, and I was like, okay, well, let me try to live with you. And that's kind of LA. So she was like, you can sleep on the couch if you want. But if you live here, you're going to have to help on these bills. Yeah. And so I tried to do stuff, and it wasn't happening. So then I had to get a job. And one of my first jobs was working at Ralph's Grocery with my brother-in-law. And I was bagging groceries and pushing in carts. And I was writing songs still. I was still writing.
What was your look then?
My look?
Yeah.
What was the look? Very regular, degular. You know what it was? I was very anti. After I got chewed and spit out, I was very anti-hip-hop, very anti.
It's like, I'm going this way.
I'm going complete hipster. I don't listen to that. I listen to Beck. I listen to Radiohead, Coldplay. I have specs, black frame, skinny jeans. Button-ups with the
What'd you do with your hair? What were you doing with it by then?
Got a little part in my head.
No, man.
No line up, nothing. Very
just
natural.
Oh, natural.
Yeah, natural.
Did you have an accent? Did you play around with that a little bit? You did.
You listened to them old songs back then. I was like, boy, you are not from Wales. Like, where are you getting this from?
Yeah, who was your crew? Who were the people that you were, or were you working too much
to
have
I had a
friends?
Crew. I had a crew. Shout out to Benji and Yuli was my crew from like high school, and I had a few people that that were still. I was still kicking it.
Benji's still with it. Did you guys do some stuff together? Didn't one of your friends?
No, the different one.
Okay.
Yeah, this before I actually met my crew that I'm hanging with now, because I eventually made my way to music school. But I had a few people that I knew from high school that were, taking me and letting me live at their garage and different stuff. When I was still kind of always doing music, but I was working jobs because I couldn't make money doing music.
So how did you figure out, okay, this is going to be the lane I'm going to be in now, style-wise?
Wow, it took a lot, man. It took a lot of just making a lot of different music. I was playing for a lot of people. When I finally got to LA, I did a lot of like, putting bands together for other artists, and I would see how they do stuff, and everybody was like, "You're a great drummer." So I played behind a lot of different people coming up, and some of them were really talented, some of them weren't, and I picked up a lot of different stuff from different people, and eventually I got to a point where I met this guy, and he told me, he's like, you're really talented, but you don't have any work ethic, and I think that because you're so multifaceted and talented, it's kind of working against you. Because look at all the things you're doing. And this is, I was getting close to 30 at this point, and I thought I was going to be young forever. And at this point, I had my son, I'm a Korean wife, and I was still like trying to play drums with this person, make a song over here, do this stuff. And he was like, if you just sat down in a room,
sit your ass down
and just work on you. Don't invite anybody. Just work on you. And you could probably do something. You get a whiteboard, start figuring out how you want to go about it. What kind of artists you look up to. Maybe you can do something different. Draw from there, and simplify your life. And he brought up your great husband's quote where he said, I only had a couple suits. And I simplify my life. I don't want to worry about what I'm going to wear every day so I can make better decisions. And so that's what I had to do.
He did say that.
He sure did.
He still does that. We need to get him that jacket.
You're right.
It's like you can unsimplify a little bit.
He's fly. Come on. I see you, bro. I know you're a fly guy.
Don't say that. Now his head is just going, Anderson Paak says I'm fly. I'm going to hear that for the rest of the year.
Yeah. But it was those words, man. And I finally, he said, and if you do it, I was like, how am I going to do it? I got to pay your rent. I don't know. I got to figure out how I'm going to do it. He's like, I'll pay your rent. How about that? If you just sit in this room.
Yeah.
And
now, who was this?
This was a manager at the time. His name is Brian Lee.
Okay.
Yeah, he gonna run with
Shout
this
out
one.
to Brian.
Shout out to Lee. You better take this little clip. You're gonna have a documentary series out there next week. See, you heard what Obama said, but Obama did not say that.
Is that Brian Lee?
It was Brian Lee. He sat me in that room. He said, I'll pay your rent. I'll get the little computer. I was like, but I need all this. He's like, no, you're going to get just this little computer, Mac Mini, get your little mini board, and you're going to figure out how to record yourself. You're gonna sit here. You're going to make a bunch of songs, figure out your sound, and just do it. And it was in that room that I went from being Breezy Lovejoy to Anderson Paak.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's what I want you to say. You were Breezy Lovejoy.
Breezy
Where'd that
Lovejoy
come from? What does that mean?
That's
Where'd
a
you
DJ.
get that?
That's a
Tell me.
DJ
Tell me
name,
all
bro.
about
it.
You know,
know, I got you. I got a little bit for you.
He's not the one. It's like you two.
See, she's mad because she knows I DJ in college.
Oh, you
DJ,
did?
yes.
What's your DJ name?
Craigie Craig.
Craigie Craig.
Just like Breezy Lovejoy.
Come on, Craig.
Man, we would have been killing back in the day.
Top flight security world, Craig.
Shoot.
That's incredible, yeah.
The old head and the young one.
That's right.
There's still time.
There's something to it.
Still
we can
time.
make it work.
I'm telling you.
We can make it work.
Telling you.
Yeah.
But
Breezy Lovejoy. I mean, okay, well, there's a story. I used to tell people, and then there's a real story about how I got breezy. But I used to tell people because I'm Aquarius, I'm an air sign. I go with the wind, where the wind blows. I'm breezy. I'm easy breezy.
Yeah.
You know? And the Lovejoy is like something you need more of. But the real story is I was passing gas a lot as a kid. I was just a little chubby kid farting all around the room. And my brother-in-law was like, I'm going to call you Breezy. You always farting. Like a gust of wind when it hits you. That's what we're going to go with. So that was that.
Before you got your diet together.
That's right. Exactly.
That sort of fast food diet.
Exactly.
Mess you up.
That Taco Bell wasn't agreeing. It wasn't in agreement. Yeah, so I had to switch it up. And Brian was like,
what did Breezy Lovejoy look like?
Breezy Lovejoy was chubby. I mean, no, Breezy Lovejoy went through that transformation too. So he had like dread hawk. He was like, after the transformation, I was working out a lot. So I was always in like a cutoff tee, a real rock image.
And still rapping?
I was still rapping.
About what?
I was doing all kinds of rapping
Breezy?
about.
What was Breezy's life
about? I was
about?
rapping about, being in the streets of Venice. And, I was
Were
like.
the streets of Venice hard?
The mean
streets of Venice.
Hard.
I was going to that music college, so I have been exposed to a lot of different relationships. And I was like a crooner too. I was playing piano, so I was making songs about, you're my girl's best friend, and I don't want to be alone no more with you. Yeah. That was like one of the Breezy Lovejoy
Yeah, Breezy.
hits.
Breezy.
Oh, my God. Talk about it. He was still happy-go-lucky, but he was really trying to find his sound. He didn't really have one sound or even one unique tone. And that's where Breezy was at. And I remember Brian was like, you got to change that name. That's the last thing we got to do. Now you done did everything. Now we got to change that name. And I was like, what you talking about? I got 200 followers on MySpace. His name stays. I don't work for that. He's like, Roy, this name stays. Jack, and that's on Jack. And he said, you really going to meet Dr. Dre one day and tell me your name is Breezy Lovejoy? And I was like, damn.
You got a point.
You got a point. So he was like, you should go by your real name. Just go by Brandon Anderson. I was like, Brandon? Are you kidding me?
Well, Brandon is a little...
Like, okay.
So I love Brandon. Brandon's a mother's name.
My mom loves it. Brandon Paak Anderson. And so that's my full name. And so we did a little, jigsaw, and we went with Anderson Paak. And I was like, well, it's pronounced Paak. And he said, nah, say Paak because they won't know if it's a group or a band, and people will argue if it's Paak or Paak, and it'll make you the talk of the town.
Yeah.
So that was intentional.
Yeah.
So where'd the period come from?
The period came, I put the dot on there because, so at this point I was, damn near 30 years old, and I felt like I had been overlooked for so many years. I felt like, I used to call myself the most underrated yet elevated. Like when we play in the band, and everybody would be making it, and I felt like, we got ignored a lot. And I put the dot because I said, you know what? When I make it, I want to make people put that dot. They're going to have to pay attention because they didn't pay attention to me for so long, and now they got to remember to put that dot. So it's almost a period on
As
period.
They would say, period.
That's right. It was like my green M&Ms, my thing. It's like, y'all gonna do it. And I took the chance. I done worked all this, this time to get here, and so it's dot for detail. And to remember, like, it's the small things, the little things that can get you to a big place.
Something I've learned about grilling is that there's always one thing you forget. You can plan the whole meal out perfectly, and then suddenly you realize you're out of charcoal. Or maybe you had enough burgers, but not enough burger buns because they sell them in non-equivalent quantities for some reason. That's why I've really come to rely on Shipt. With Shipt, you can get the steaks, the seasoning, the sides, and even that emergency extra bag of charcoal delivered same day from stores nearby. And the shoppers with Shipt really pay attention. If I'm ordering meat for the grill, I want someone who's actually picking out good cuts, good produce, all of it. That level of detail matters. With an annual membership, you can place as many Shipt orders as you want, and you'll pay $0 in delivery fees on orders over $35. You'll also unlock exclusive deals, and you can even request your favorite shoppers for future orders. Get up to 30% off barbecue essentials, travel needs, and more during Shipt's Summer of Savings event now through July 4th. And with Shipt's kits, you can add all your grilling essentials to your cart with just one click. Get a $49 annual membership with the promo code podcast at shipt.com/offer. That's SHIPT.com/offer. Terms apply. Today's show is sponsored by Incogni. Now, whenever I get those scam calls or texts, it's always infuriating to not know how they got my number or email. I'm quite careful in giving those out, but having my info exposed to scammers still felt unavoidable. Our sponsor, Incogni, is a must for the digital age. They go out and contact data brokers on your behalf and request that your personal information gets removed from these databases. You could do it manually, but it would take you years. The setup was really easy. I made my account, authorized Incogni to work on my behalf, and now I can track everything from the dashboard. I also like their new custom removals feature on the Unlimited and Family Unlimited plans. If your information shows up on a specific People search site or random website, you can flag it and one of their privacy agents handles it for you. Go to incogni.com/IMO and use code IMO for 60% off. Incogni helps wipe yourself from the internet. Click the link below to claim your 60% off and get your personal data off the market.
What was the first break, the first reel where you were like, I'm in?
Yeah. When I got the call to work with Dr. Dre, that was a big break.
And how did he hear about you?
What precipitated that?
So I had a couple songs that were circulating at the time that was big in the streets. This was before like Spotify was a really big thing. It was really just about SoundCloud and Reverb Nation or stuff like that. Where
can you hum a few bars? What did it sound like? What was the song?
Can I say the song?
Oh yeah. Will that be it's his song?
It was a song called Suede, and the song simply goes, "If I call you a bitch, it's because you're my bitch.
Yeah.
And as long as no one else call you a bitch, then there won't be no problems. Now, if I call you a trick, it's because you paid rent. And as long as you don't call at the 6, then there won't be no problems. Now, rock with me now."
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Oh, could you say that?
Yes.
Oh, yes. No,
yeah.
you absolutely can.
So
So
Dre
it was that
heard
song
that.
that did it all for me.
That did it.
Yeah,
Wow.
well, it was, I recorded that song and it was moving around. People knew about it and, and so when they said Dre wanted to hit me up, I was a little shook because that's like the final boss. I grew up in the West Coast and nothing's bigger than Dre.
Yeah.
And so there was a little bit of shook and also a little bit of like self-sabotage. I was like, I ain't going to that session.
Yeah.
I don't need that.
Yeah.
Like, they gonna try to make me something I'm not. And who knows? He ain't putting out no album no time soon. I'm working on my stuff and this and that. And so,
really, you were afraid that you might fail.
Looking back on it, yeah. Like, Dre's known for, he don't care who you are, what hype. If you don't like it, you don't like it. And so they begged my new manager at the time. He was like, please go, man. Adrian Miller, shout out to Adrian Miller. Gotta say Brian Lee, shout out to Adrian Miller.
Yeah.
He was like, come on, man, show up. Let's just do it. And I show up, and first person I meet was Dr. Dre. And him and the DLC. And they was like, hey, man, we heard a lot about you. That's what's up. Cool. And then they go off. They was watching the playoffs. And they ushered me into the studio. And I met these two writers, King Mez and JT. And they were like, we love your song, Suede. Like, we love it. We've been playing it nonstop. And we want you to help on this Dr. Dre album. It's top secret. No one knows about it. Don't tell anyone. Bet. Cool. So they played me some music. I'm like, great, let's start working. And they say, hold up. Before we play this, we want to play your song Sway for Dre. And I was like, oh, no, he hasn't heard it yet? Like, come on. Let's just go. I'm in here now. We don't what if he doesn't like it? Damn.
It's like, just leave it.
Yeah, it's all good.
That would be deflating.
Like, oh my God.
That would be deflating.
Actually.
You thought that's why you were here because of Slade, right?
Little I know, Dre didn't have a clue. He thought I was a runner. Like, the dude's here. Go ahead, man. Yeah. And they were like, we want to play it for Dre. So I was nervous. And he came in there and they threw on the record. And I was like, I didn't know where to look. I was just looking at the floor. I was looking at his feet. That's where I realized, like, oh, Dre wears the same shoes every day. White Air Force Ones. All right. And so,
it's like, check.
Yeah, check.
Noted.
Right. Simplify your life. Okay. Got it. And so he playing the music, and man, he cranks it. He cranks it up. They blasting it. And I look up, and he's like, hey, play that again. What's your name again? AP? Okay. And what should I call you? AP. We're going to call you AP. Play it again.
You didn't focus on the period?
Yeah, no.
A period.
It's a dot, sir.
It's an A period.
That's Mr. Paak to you. No, none of that. Whatever you like, honestly. You like it, I love it.
Yeah. You're just glad they didn't kick you out.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah,
I was like, he's like, play it again. Yeah, that's gangster. Yeah. Let's work. There's too much talent in the building. And he just threw on the mic. I got on the mic, started doing stuff, and boom, like I was back every day. Every day he hit me up to work on stuff, and they told me it's top secret. Don't tell anybody about this. I told everybody. I told my cousin. No. Man, I was telling everybody, man. I'm like, I'm with Dre. Don't talk to me. Don't like your tone, bro. I'm working with Dre now. I ain't got time for all that foolishness.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I was hyped. That's when I was like, oh man, this is good. Because before that, man, it was tough. I was making low headway, but man, it was still struggling.
Sure.
I wasn't making any money really as an artist, and I was full-time artist, and so it was tough. And I had a family when that moment came. I was like, wow. And then he put out an album. I woke up and he had dropped a surprise album called Compton, and I was all over the album. I was like on 6 tracks. They was calling me 6-track Paak. Yeah. And then he had a movie straight out of Compton.
Yeah.
And he did the Beats deal, and Dre was popping. Yeah. And so I was like, wow. And I was like, well, shoot, guess I should put out something now. And it was cool because he was so busy doing his thing that he didn't sign me right away. So I was working on an album called Malibu, and I had it like halfway done, but now like people were looking. So I was like hitting up producers that are, this album was like my dream album that I had been holding on to these songs for a while. And I was like, when this comes out, I want people to be able to hear it. And now like I had a lot of like leverage, and I had a lot of eyes on me. So I was hitting up people like Knife Wonder and Madlib and High Tech. And these people were helping me complete the album now. And I was getting these features, and Dre was still doing his thing. So I got to put it out independently. And, now I own the masters on those.
That was probably the best thing that happened. It was really like, great. How fortuitous that he was too busy.
Yeah. And I was trying to, we were trying to break our necks, everyone was knocking down my door now, trying to sign me. Before I couldn't buy a deal. And everyone's like, yeah, we want to sign you now. And I was like, if I do sign anything, I'm going to sign to Dre whenever it comes back around. And I was on tour after that for years. I didn't see.
How did you finance your tour?
So it was a lot of things that happened. We started after Malibu came out, it started circulating, and I got a Grammy nom for Best New Artist and different things like that. And people were seeing that, oh, he's not like just a rapper like this, he could play, that he has a band. So we started getting festival offers to play at festivals and stuff. And so, the rates started getting better. And then we got on a show called NPR Tiny Desk.
Oh, I love you on Tiny Desk. That was...
And that really opened it up. People started seeing, wow. And I didn't know that like playing drums and being the front man was going to be a big thing. And it was really that kind of like opened everyone's eyes. And man, then we started getting booked for all kinds of gigs. And then our shows were starting to get lying around the corner. And
so how did you know how to line up your team so that financially you would, because they're the story of a lot of artists.
Well, I went, before that, I was going to be with anybody who could help pay my rent.
Right.
So I would sign anything. And I got out of the manager who made me change my name. He was like, hey, I don't know what to do now. You're off. But if you ever do make it, you owe me this much. And so I learned a little bit like, nothing of this stuff is free. Like these are all partnerships. So he was like you will
free
make it.
Rent.
Exactly.
It's like I pay your rent. You're not paying my rent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is an investment. I want an ROI eventually. I don't know what to do with you now, but you're going to figure out. And so he gave me a big old receipt of how much I owed. And then I had a bunch of music, but I just was in debt and no connections. And so I met another manager and he said, hello, young fella. Just look at me. I remember the first thing he said, he's like, just look at me as your personal ATM. And I said, bet. I got this debt. I got my rent. I got a wife. I got a kid. I want to do all this stuff. And he said, great, we're going to get you a deal. I'll help you with all that stuff. We're going to sign a management agreement though. And I signed him, new manager, and he put together a financial team and a lawyer, everything. Some of the people I still have to this day. He wasn't perfect, but he was, a bridge over troubled water. He was a guy that gave me an opportunity. I didn't have an opportunity. And he was one of the people that got me in front of Dre. And he didn't have all the knowledge of it, but he did teach me certain simple stuff like, don't sign your publishing no matter what. The very first thing people want to do is sign their publishing because they don't have a lot of finances and they need a big check up front. So then they sign these publishing deals and that's your everything.
Your money,
that's your kids' stuff.
Yeah.
And there you get locked in for years. So I didn't know what he was talking about. And people, up until then, man, people were trying to get my publishing $5,000 here and there. I'm like, let's sign it. Like, let's do it. I'm broke. Like, that's $5,000. We ain't walking away from that. That's generational wealth. And he was like, bro, don't sign that. I'll give you $500 to get you to the next.
Grocery money.
Yeah, here. I'm like, all right, I'm calm now. I was just hungry. But yeah, he would do stuff like that. And like, to this day, I'm holding on to that. And so, he was the person that got my initial team together. And then I started making money and didn't know where it was going. I never was the type to have a bank account before that. I was in collections. Like, I never had a...
It's like, that's all you knew about the
collections. That's all I knew about banks. I get a card, I max it out, and I'll be like, all right, on to the next. Yeah, and I had debt, I had school debt, all kinds of stuff. My credit was abysmal. And it was like, when I started making money, it was just like, I just, here, like, I had a team that he put in place, but I never was checking to see where it was going and all this stuff. They were just, putting it in places. And thank God, my first initial team did do really cool stuff that to this day I'm really happy about. You
were lucky.
Very lucky.
Yeah.
Very lucky.
Nobody's story
is like
ends
that.
up like
it's like the story. I'm waiting for it. It's like, I didn't know nothing. Yeah. And I gave everything to them.
Well, that's true.
And I still have it.
That's like, no. I lost a lot.
Okay.
I had to go through the growing pains. I had to fire everybody. It was a whole bunch of stuff. But, people, artists, I see a lot of these things where it's like, they took me for this and that and all this stuff, but you only do what you allow people to do. And there's no reason why I couldn't picked up one of these contracts and looked it through and figured it out and maybe waited and stuff. It's not that I didn't know better. It's just like, I was just trusting and doing what I can. And these people were helping me at a time and I didn't have anything. And so, I needed the help, and they saw something in me when no one saw it. And I think, you got to take the good with the bad sometimes.
Right. Man, dude.
Then I met Bruno.
Oh, yeah.
And I learned a lot about debt.
Oh, talk about that. How'd you meet Bruno? How did you guys come together?
We met. I opened up for him at the 24 Karat Magic. It was one of my first big, opening tour offers when Malibu had came out.
Mm-hmm.
And he took me all over Europe, big arena shows.
Mm-hmm.
And
your first big arena shows.
Yeah.
What was that? What is that like?
It was incredible.
Breezy Lovejoy. It's like, look at where we are now.
We done made it. Yeah, it was crazy. I remember, like after one of the shows, because our whole thing was like, we got to make it so that, he messed up having us open. We about to steal some fans. We're going to be killing it. That was our whole mentality. And Bruno has that mentality too. Like we come from like, you don't want to come on the stage after we go. That's where we want to kill the stage and give people the best show possible. We don't care who's coming after. And that's how we went. And I remember one day we played and like, we had a standing ovation. I was like, ah. And I was like, yeah, we killed that. The next day they said, Bruno wants to talk to you. And I said, oh shit.
It's like, whoop.
See you later. He's like, meet me for dinner tonight. I want to talk. And I'm like, oh, damn, I'm talking to my band. I'm like, shit, I hope we didn't kill it too hard. Bruno wants to meet.
This might be it.
Yeah. So we go and we go to this restaurant. It's like at the top floor. He in there smoking a cigarette inside the restaurant. That's how I knew. I was like, oh, there's different type levels of famous. I was like, are you not? I don't think you're supposed to smoke in here. Like,
it's not.
I think I'm Bruno Mars.
Non-smoking.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sir. Do you see the
smoke
sign?
No, you put that down. Yeah. And so he's like, I like you. You did great. That was real cute. He said, listen, I want you to come on the rest of the tour with me. I'm going to we got San Antonio, we got New York, I want to come on the American leg. And my crazy self, I'm like, well, okay, but I need a little more money, because I got the band and this and that. He's like, the tour sold out. And I said, oh, okay.
Okay.
So that means I don't need you to do this. So you take it or leave it, buddy. I'm doing it because I like it. It's not because I need you.
Right.
And so I said, damn.
Oh, you got a point.
Yeah, got a point there. Yeah, so I was learning business quick.
Right.
Yeah. I said, all right, I'll be back. I'll figure it out. And that was a big decision because, at that point, I had Malibu, and then Dre was like, hey, man, when you going to come back and make your next album? And I was like, oh, wow, that's right. I need to make another album. It's been years, And I had been on the road nonstop. And if I would have kept going with him, he's just coming off that 24 karat. And he just put out a new thing. So it's like, it's easy to get caught up in that where you can be on the road for a long time and you forget, or doing different things because it's like, it's fun, or because it's like lucrative and stuff. And then you forget like, okay, well, I still got stuff over here. Also had a family. I also had different things going on. So I had to make a decision. It was a tough one to be like, okay, I'm going to leave the tour. I'm going to go work on my album, work on my stuff, go back, be with the family and tap in on my own artistry. As fun as it is to open up, I didn't want to get stuck in being an opener or being like some sidekick or something. So,
what was Bruno's reaction to that?
Good luck.
It's like, tour's still sold out.
Still sold out, Jack. Yeah, ain't nobody come to see you in the first place. And so, we kept in touch and we made some music, and it was just like, right away we hit it off. I hadn't met anybody that was that talented. It was my age and that could make hits and was a mega star. It was. I worked with a lot of people that were older or maybe younger, and I was always like felt like the Lone Ranger that was still like the guy that really wanted to play and perform and listen to old school stuff, and he was that even more. And so I went off, did my stuff, and eventually quarantine hit. So everything came to a halt, and everyone was stuck, no more tours. And the blessing of it was I had to be home with the kids. And so my kids now are, 8 years old, and I had a little baby. I was like,
and you've been on the road since they were born?
2016, Even before that, that was my life. Bread and butter was put something out, go on the road for months. And you come home and life still goes on without you. And, and your daddy's home. And the kids run up to you. And then they come out like, long time no see. Nobody's saving you no chicken. You don't get the big piece of chicken no more. And everyone's like on the iPad. Like, so it became apparent like if I wasn't going to have a lot of time, it was very important about what you do with the time and being present. And I know daddy's working and all these things cost and you got to do all this stuff. But while I'm here, I want to be present. And that was really what quarantine did for me. I got to be present, create a bond with my son, figure out what he was into. He's like, I like YouTube. I want to be a YouTuber. I'm like, okay, what's that? I like K-pop. I'm like, K-pop? What you know about Tupac? Boy, BTS, what you know about BET? How long I've been away from? What the hell is happening in this house now? I got to rectify some things. Yeah, so then I had to tap in, and then I see you do YouTube. So I'm like, oh, let's make some skits. I remember it brought me back when I was a kid, making like funny skits with my sisters. And I used to love like editing and filming and making home videos. And it brought me back to doing that. And so I became one. I wanted to be a YouTuber more than him by the end of it. I'm like, come on, son, let's do this. And I realized how funny he was. And he had been in dance classes forever. So he was like a little dancing machine. And I'm like, wow, this is 2.0. Like faster, more handsome.
Does he have
bilingual.
The same kind of energy as you do?
Even
my
cooler
God.
energy.
What's that in the house with you two?
Well, he's a Sag and I'm Aquarius. So I don't know. Y'all can do the research on that.
Julia
knows it. We're always talking about this.
So it's a lot of just us staring at each other like, all right. Go ahead with your bad self. All right, I see you over there. I used to do a little. And so he's really much like, I see you doing that. I'm gonna have my own thing. And so I
kind of like you.
Yeah, very much so. And his mom. And and he's got the Korean side too. His mom is full Korean, and he's got a different.
Is she musical?
She's musical. Wow. Sings, plays keys, and everything.
All right. So the K-pops. Is fully your story.
Yeah.
Not fully, but
I was pulling from the well.
Yeah.
That was why I was like, son, I'm going to write a script. Like, this could be something. What if I didn't know how to
So you thought of that in COVID?
Yep.
Yeah.
I was.
But we're talking about K-pops.
My movie.
The movie.
Yeah. My feature film. And I knew I wanted to, because at that point, I saw that, okay, touring stopped. I love music. It's always going to be there. But that's when I realized, like, oh, man, I could tell different stories in different mediums. And it might take a while for me to learn a new medium, but that's the joy of the whole process. I love that.
So this was your first script?
Yeah. Yep. So,
and you taught yourself how to do it?
Yeah, so I had a co-writer.
Okay.
I had to come up with the idea first, and what if I didn't know I had a son, and that son could be the next K-pop star, and I come into his life, and I'm teaching him about his Black culture, and he's teaching me about the Korean side because I didn't know anything about my Korean side till I met his mom, and then I was reintroduced. So I had all these unique experiences that I could pull from and put them in this movie that I didn't think anybody had really done before, like especially Asians and Black people. Like that was rare. Like we got Rush Hour, and that's about it. So I was like, this could be cool. And then I didn't want it to be, I know I had a lot of different things that I could pull from and trauma and different things, racism, things that we all been through. But I wanted to kind of pull from the things that helped me cope with all those things, like the love, the music, the fun, the comedy. And I felt like there wasn't a lot of movies that were bringing families together where you saw families on the screen. It was family comedy. No one dies. It's like, different things.
My kind of movie.
Right.
Anderson.
Very uplifting.
By the way.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. And my mom too. She's like, Granny, you know what? This is like a Hallmark movie. I was like, Mom.
Yeah. Oh, don't say that.
You mean Sundance? No, this is Hallmark. This is ready for Hallmark. I was like, all right. But I understood what she was saying. It's like, sometimes you want the escapism of knowing that everything's going to be all right. And, that doesn't mean you can't put different things in there, but it's beautiful when you can. It's really hard to do those kind of movies. So, that was the genesis of it. And I started doing the process, and I met with my buddy Dumbfounded, because once I knew I wanted to direct and everything, people didn't want me to do it. And I wanted to be in it, and I wanted my son to be in it. And they were like, okay, that's a lot. It's very ambitious. Like, why don't we give it to somebody, give it to this? I'm like, I don't want nobody around my son.
Don't you know who I am?
Come on now. Formerly Breezy Lovejoy?
Really?
Ring a bell?
I do hard.
Exactly. Yeah, so I eventually got my boy Dumbfounded, who was one of my best friends that I met coming up in LA, who started music but was making the venture into movies, was working with this company, Stampede and EST. And he said, bring it to them. They're taking chances on, different stories. And I pitched them the idea, and they said, yeah, cool. We'll give you some money to do it. And I was shocked. I was like, whoa, all right, cool. So and they were like, you want to direct it, right? I was like, yeah. And you want to write it? And I didn't know how to write a script. It had none. So I was like, maybe I would love to have a co-writer actually, because I need just to show me structure or whatever. And they blessed me with this really young co-writer, Kayla Amazon, this young Black writer who was a military brat and who also happened to be a K-pop fanatic.
Oh,
so
wow.
she was like, right when got in there and we was just in here just like this in a room like this. And I'm like, so she's like, all right, this is K-pop 101. This is movie structure 101. She graduated from, film school and everything. And I think it worked out because it was those two worlds, and she taught me structure, and she taught me the idea that I had gained all these layers because it wasn't as deep as him being on a show and all these different things. And I learned more about the structure of K-pop and how they have this, this incubation system and this whole thing about this person is this person and that and all this thing. And again, it was making me think of groups that I came up with. And so I was like, this is going to be a cool opportunity to show like how things relate and how much in common things have and how, yes, people take and pull from different things and have their own interpretation, but that's been going on for years.
My favorite scene in the movie is when you're out with, I shouldn't say, when Pops is out with his son and they go by the record store.
Yeah.
And he starts pulling out the albums. It's explaining this is what, trying to teach his son some soul and understand what it means. That was beautifully done.
Thank you. Thank you.
And was that the first time you acted?
Yeah. I mean, I'd done different things, but this was the first.
I mean, you were really good
talented.
in it.
Oh,
I mean,
talented.
funny and, lit up the screen.
Thank you so much.
Really, truly.
Wow.
I mean, I was laughing out loud watching the movie. Really sweet. And your son, I mean, so now your son you said is a man.
Yeah, I mean, it took forever. He was like 8 years old. He was obsessed with K-pop. And then by the time we got to shoot, I got all the money and stuff. He was like 11 years old. And he's like, man, I don't like K-pop no more. I like Slipknot. I'm like, contractually, son, here's the thing. I need this to work. We're doing this. I owe a lot of money. So he was like, all right. I guess, he's going into his teens, and I had to adjust things for him, but he was like, I'm going to do you a solid, Dad. You seem really into it. And I'm like, thank you, Dad, son. Let's do this.
Thank you. This is about your tuition and your life.
This is going to mean more than you know later. And so, and it was cool because, like, the whole thing was like, I really loved being on set with him and being able to kick it with your son and like see him grow and we're working together and we're creating a bond, but we also have to be on set really early and I'm seeing him learn about how to learn the language of being on set, be on his mark, and he's taking his acting classes serious and learning his lines and getting me on my game. And it was just so much fun. And at the end of it, I was like, it was really surprising because like, I didn't know how he was going to take it. And I could see him having a lot of fun. Mind you, before this, he was in homeschool all his life. And now he's like around other kids and adults. And I've seen him blossom socially and everything. And I'm like, okay, we might have a little acting bug. K-pops too. And I'm like, what you think, son? Would you do it again? How'd you feel? He's like, it was great. I think we had a lot of core memories. I think you had a lot of fun, Dad. But I would just like to be a kid. It's not my passion. Yeah,
that's pretty mature.
We'll leave it there.
That's pretty
bubble.
mature.
Yeah, I was like, dang. He's like, but it does depend on the script, Dad. So, and that's cool. I was fine with that. And now he's going to school. He's like, it's funny when you like back off him, they get to do their thing their own way. Now he's playing guitar, he's playing bass, making beats, and I'm right back in his face, like, all right, come on now.
It's
got to produce the next album.
It's got to be their idea.
It does.
Yeah. How's your mom doing?
My mom is doing great.
Yeah.
She is. Narrowed it down to one boyfriend now.
Okay.
She's vegan.
Okay.
Pissing off every restaurant we go to. She is a Dodger fanatic.
Oh my God.
She got me into the Dodgers, so now we be all obsessed with the Dodgers.
Congratulations.
She loves F1, exactly. Shout out to Dodgers.
She's
F1.
She's F1
fanatic.
too?
He's an F1 fanatic
Boxing
too.
fanatic.
Oh my God.
All of it. So I'm broke, having to get all these passes and tickets. She got to be front row at everything.
Did she go to the Vegas race?
She went to the Vegas race. She went to the last fight. She got to feel the sweat coming off of them. I'm like, dang. Yeah. So she's loving life, and she's out in Atlanta, and sometimes she'll tap in, be a grandma, help watch the kids, and then she'll be dipping out. She's jet setting now. I'm like, Mom, because Mom for some reason she's like, I don't want to go anywhere, Brandon. I don't trust it. the things that people eat. I don't. I'm like, Mom, why is that stopping you from going anywhere?
Really?
Go travel.
Right.
No, they doing some foolishness over there with how they do the chicken.
The
seen that?
that people
Have you seen that? I don't trust it. I'm scared of that. But now she's traveling. She was in Puerto Rico.
She's packing her own food. No.
Yeah, she will. That's one way to piss her clean off. To hell with the whole country. Yeah, so she's bringing her food and she's gonna travel to London now. Finally gonna get her to go over across the pond. And yeah, she's great. That's my dog. That's my best friend. And
well, she did a great job in raising you, dude. She really has, and been through a lot, stayed strong.
Yeah,
and I like to think that that's also, where you get your steadiness and your drive. And like you said, your mom, has taught you a lot of it, and you can see it. It's spilling out on this table.
Thank you. Shout out to Mama.
Yeah, shout out to Mama. Forget Brian Lee.
Yeah, Mama. You did it. You did that. Did you be one, Mama?
Shout out from the Obamas and the Robinson. Right. That one. Yeah, yeah. We see you.
Yeah. We see you, Mama Brenda.
We see you.
Yeah.
You want to do the listener question?
Yeah, let's hear from Amanda in Boston.
Hi, my name is Amanda, and I'm from Massachusetts. My husband and I have started to discuss growing our family. As a teacher and future parent, I often grapple with the idea of building resilience in young people. I had a fairly unstable childhood. My father battled alcoholism and actively worked on his recovery, while my mother worked long hours trying to make ends meet. Because of this environment, I was forced to develop resilience and grit. I had to learn to guide myself and power through uncomfortable feelings without the guidance of my parents. I find myself being able to handle adversity in adulthood because of this learned resilience. I truly believe that I have my childhood and struggles to thank for this. As I think about raising independent and resilient future adults, I worry that I won't be able to provide my children with opportunities to naturally build this resilience. How do we balance this idea of giving children a predictable and loving home while also allowing them to naturally build resilience? I want to give my future children everything I did not have, but this can become a slippery slope. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, Amanda asks, it's getting the answer from Mr. Resilience himself.
Loaded.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. You can't be afraid to let them go through their own struggles. Sometimes especially my kid, my oldest one, he remembers like the little apartment, and me going for us taking the bus. And then when we first got our place, we first got a car, and he still remembers that my little one, he just born in first class, It's like, he was born, after we had the stuff. So, sometimes I take him through coach. I tell him, go ahead, like, y'all got to sit back there. So I'm sitting up front. Y'all figure it out, Work your way up like how I do, Take him down Skid Row, let him see, like, this could be you now. Get out the car, go walk. No, you want to be tough, right? Go ahead. That's what it's going to get you. Get your ass in the car. Let's get out of here.
That's some old school
lessons.
That's
old school stuff. You got to do it. And now, I wanted to protect him so much. I want to give him the life I didn't have, all this stuff. And I realized like all this stuff that I went through made me. And it wasn't, I don't know how it would have been if the tables were turned and I got to live in that lap of luxury and my mom and everything worked out. I might have been still a chubby little spoiled brat, and not know how to treat people and all this stuff.
That's right.
And so, the kids have to go through their own trauma, their own set of different things in order, and you have to trust that the things that you install in them is going to stay with them when they go out into the world. Yeah. So now my son is going to school now. He's made his debut, and he was homeschooled forever. I didn't want to put him in school. I didn't trust nobody, and I was like, nah, we're going to keep him here. And, he was like, please, Dad, I want to go to school.
It's like, I want to get out.
I'm sick of my cousins. Right. It's like, who's going to watch your little brother? And so
it's like, not my job.
Yeah, it's not my job. So now he's out. And, I trust that, I worry sometimes, but I trust that the things that he learned in the house and the way we raised him, he's out there being a good representation, and he's going to learn, on his own. And you have to let him do that. And he's around other people and getting influenced and learning different things. And I'm excited for him. But I think that's what you have to do. You have to trust that you raised them right and that you installed a lot of those things, but can't be afraid to let them go out and venture and bump their head sometimes and get back up. And it's a part of it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that sometimes parents, they have to get out of the way.
Yeah.
You know, and I would say, Amanda, make sure that you aren't parenting out of fear or out of your own motives, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our mom was really good at that. She always used to say, I can't let my own fears get in the way of your growth.
Wow.
And when, and the perfect example was when I got the chance to go out of town for the first time to a tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Basketball.
A basketball tournament. My mom was scared to death. And I was going to Kansas City in a van with a bunch of guys and some coaches. And I didn't realize it until she never told me this until I was grown. But she was absolutely afraid the whole time I was gone.
Yep.
And she just ate that fear and let me experience it. And I tell you, it's just like what you're saying. It's not doing the homework, not getting in the way of your child's development because of your own personal fears too. So
you see it in coaching.
Oh
a
man,
lot.
I see it so much now in coaching kids that these parents are trying to curate the perfect childhood for them. And that's not sports. It's not going to be perfect. You're not going to go undefeated. You're not going to ever not miss a shot. You're not going to ever run into a kid who's better than you are.
Right.
And you're going to lose a lot.
You are going to lose.
You are going to, at some point in life, somebody is going to be mean to you.
Yep.
That you're going to, you're going to be disappointed. Something's not going to work out. We've all experienced that.
Yes.
So we got to prepare kids for that. That's what resilience is, and you don't have to, be flat broke to do it.
Right.
You don't have to have extenuating circumstances to do it, but you do have to let go throughout their childhood.
And Amanda, your kids will still love you.
Yep.
That's the thing.
They'll still love you.
That is the crazy thing about it,
Mm-hmm.
And, for a minute, you have to not care whether they like you or not.
Yep.
I mean, that's kind of the secret to parenting, You got to be able to be like,
you got to outlast
I
them.
don't really care.
Yeah.
You got to outlast
If you
them.
like me, that's not my role in your life, My favorite saying that my daughters say, I say this all the time, I'm not one of your little friends.
That was what my mom used to say too.
I just not. And I never felt like I needed to be. Right. Oh, you mad?
Right.
Oh, you mad? You got rent?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So who gonna be madder longer? I was like, who's not? Oh, you're not speaking to me?
Right.
It's like, great.
Mm-hmm.
I won't speak to you.
Right.
And guess who always won? It's like, you gonna need to speak to me before. I could not speak to you for years.
Wow.
And my life wouldn't change.
She's rough, man.
That's
She's rough.
You go.
She's rough.
I'm going to hell.
That's right.
She stays
like
high except with her kids.
It's
Right.
like, we're
so
going low.
Crazy.
Okay. All right.
Let me show you low.
Yeah. Wow. I like it.
And that would build resilience.
Absolutely. Yeah. Don't hurt me more
Therein
than
lies a little resilience there.
Mm-hmm.
They're never coming on. They're never
They
coming
haven't been
on.
on yet?
Oh my God.
Listen,
Wow.
They do not
none
want
of our
anything
kids
to
want to
do
come.
with us.
Actually,
that's
Aaron
why I'm
wants
telling
to
you.
come. Aaron wants
He's
to
the
come.
youngest.
The youngest.
But
He's
Okay.
our
this is what you're
youngest.
saying. Your son now, he's like, please.
No interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Right, son.
I don't know. It may change,
Yeah.
but, especially when your parents are, he's going to try to create as much distance between you and him.
Yeah.
You
What's
know.
the opposite of the drums?
That's serious. Man. Well, he's doing guitar, and I can't play it. I'm not a lick. I just be like, learn how to play this though. That's what I'll be doing.
Yeah.
And he's just killing it. So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, hopefully that helps. Amanda,
Yeah.
figure stuff out. Anything on the music front coming our way?
Yeah. I have a soundtrack that's gonna accompany the movie where I'm doing some cool K-pop collabs and also like R&B and reaching back to different groups that I came up with, like Earth, Wind and Fire and different stuff.
I can't wait
up
for
my
that.
I'm
alley.
excited about the soundtrack.
Like Anderson Paak plays real music.
That's right.
Breaking news.
Bringing real music back. Jack.
Please keep doing it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Y'all keep doing what y'all do.
Yeah. And tell us about Andy's.
Yes. Actually, can I give y'all a gift?
Yes.
I got y'all some-
Please.
It's speaking of real music, it's becoming harder and harder to find places where you can perform real music, where you see people playing instruments.
Yeah,
where you hear people, having a good time and seeing people dance. And I'm trying to bring that back. And that's how I came up in LA. And that was a big part of how we made it and got our buzz. And I think it's important to have a place where bands can cut their teeth and practice, and it can be like an incubation place where that happens. And so I started a club called Andy's.
What we got?
Yes, this is a little.
Thank you.
I got
that's so nice of you.
I got the supper club because I got food there. I got an excellent menu.
We coming. I'm coming.
Live music every night.
Oh, Andy's.
And I got y'all some Andy swag. Let's check it out.
And some breath mints?
Now this is my other venture.
Wham.
Now I know y'all do a lot of talking.
Okay.
Y'all be up here. And so
Andy's.
I started my own mint with my doctor. He's Harvard graduate.
You know what? You look like you could have a mint.
Well,
minty fresh.
Fresh.
Like,
minty fresh. I mean, everything about him smells good.
Fresh. And this is meant to be shared. Now y'all could be, because confidence is meant to be shared. All right?
Appreciate you, man.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the gifts. Thank you for bringing real music back into our lives. Congratulations on the film. Everybody's got to see it. Congratulations on everything.
I really appreciate it.
Thank
Congratulations.
you for being
big
here.
fans here, man.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Even bigger after this.